at my age, women, not only women, but women in particular, tend to be what we call invisible. And they have so much life experience, and it's nice when somebody wants to hear some of that. I listened to many of my mother's stories, and I'm so glad that I have those stories now. And I've told those stories to my daughter, who will tell them to her son. And I think they're a wonderful part of who you are. And it's nice to be remembered in terms of the fact of the various stages of your life, and that somebody might want to hear about them. Oh, my story is well, it's a rather long one, but it began in a little coal town called Mahanoy City, Pennsylvania, and I loved growing up there. It was a wonderful place to grow up, and we were a very close family. People sat on their porches and talked, and we were a community, and I just always loved to be with my family, and I loved when I first was able to walk independently to the library. I fell in love with the smell, the feel. I remember one of my thrills was the first hardcover book I ever got. And those days, it was not like it is today that they're readily available. So I got Little Women, and I remember loving that book. And walking to the library was one of my big thrills. I loved being in the classroom every day, every minute. I taught 7th grade, and they were like jumping beans, but they were full of energy, and I turned that learning and energy into something interesting in the classroom. It was a wonderful experience. So I was going for my doctorate at Rutgers, and I was getting this transient feeling like like this wasn't going to be my whole life. And I met my husband on a fixed up date, and I didn't believe this. I didn't believe in love at first sight, but that's what happened. I saw him and I said, "Oh my God, that's Joe Carducci. I think I'm in love." So that sounds stupid because I was 32 years old. It was the Thunderbolt. That's what they call it in Italy. All of my friends from the 50s and early 60s wanted to get out of college and get married. It was a big thing to be engaged by the time you were. But I didn't want that. I wanted to continue learning, and I wanted to travel. And I remember one of my fellow teachers saying to me, "Why aren't you saving money? You're traveling all the time." She said, "You can travel later on in life." I said, "But I can't travel and be young." And that really, I think back to saying that, it was so true. So I'm so glad that I did all that traveling. One year I got my doctorate, bought this house, and had a baby at 37. And that baby was my daughter Erin, who's been wonderful for every step of life. When Erin went to first grade, I went to Centenary College. That's a private college in Hackettstown. And I worked there for 6 years, loved it. I had just gotten tenure and a job opened at Sussex College, and I went to Sussex. I was there for 25 years and loved every day. And if you ask me, do I have any regrets? Personally, as far as my goals, I don't. I always stay true to my integrity. I never feel that I have regrets like that, because if it was something against my inner core, I wouldn't do it. So I'm still who I am, although I look like I'm not. I still feel like probably 32-year-old Eleanor. You have to be active, curious. Try something, see if you like it. Not everybody will fall into the thing they like immediately. Remember, there are always options. And I always tried to teach each student to be his or her individual self. My friend teaches kindergarten, and she said, "I teach my kids to cope with the individual they already are. No learning is ever wasted. If you go and you take a course just because you have to, and then later on they won't count it, that's okay, because you've learned something." The world is kind of chaotic, and I would say keep your integrity and be yourself in a world that doesn't know who it is or where we're going. And there are days when I think it's all forgotten and I don't even remember that I did this. And then Monica comes along, and I start reviewing, and I'm thinking, wow, I really did have a good life.
You're the cream in my coffee. You're the salt in my stew. You will always be my necessity. I'd be lost